Welcome to the silent verdict.
With Clara Monroe and Elias Gray.
Imagine this. You just moved into a new apartment, you're still surrounded by boxes, trying to figure out where everything goes, and then your phone buzzes. You look down and you see a text that just flips your entire world upside down.
And this is that text. A new tenant in Pennsylvania gets this from their landlord. It's not just asking for money, right? It's a straight-up threat. This one message kicks off a story that is just a perfect storm. You've got a vague lease, an illegal demand, and one huge mistake in writing.
So let's get into what I'm calling the $600 shakedown. Seriously, picture it. You've barely moved in, and suddenly you're being told you have to pay the water bill for the entire building. How in the world does something like that even happen?
The landlord is demanding a whopping $600. But get this, and this is the part that's just mind-boggling. This bill was for the last quarter, a time before our tenant had even signed the lease, let alone moved in.
All right, so let's set the scene properly. We're in Pennsylvania. The building, it's an old house that's been chopped up into 4 apartments. But, and this is key, there's only one water meter for the whole place. The lease is super vague, just as the tenant responsible for utilities. Doesn't say which ones, doesn't say how much. So what does the landlord do? He zeroes in on the new guy, demanding he cough up the full $600 for everybody. You can already see where the trouble starts.
And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. Lease rules versus state law. When you've got a contract this fuzzy, what wins out? Get a landlord just make up the rules as they go along? Well, let's find out.
But this is where it gets really interesting. On one hand, you've got the lease, with that one little vague word, utilities. But on the other hand, you've got Pennsylvania state law, which is crystal clear. The law flat out says that if an apartment doesn't have its own meter, which this one didn't, the landlord is on the hook for that utility. Period. A lease can't just ignore state law. So, right from the get-go, the landlord was completely in the wrong.
You know the crazy part is? The landlord could have done this legally. There's a whole system for it called ratio utility billing, or RUBs. It lets a landlord split a utility bill between tenants using a fair formula, based on square footage or how many people live there. But, and this is the kicker, it has to be spelled out in the lease. This landlord, nope, he just decided to dump the whole thing on one person.
So the demand itself was already illegal, right? But what the landlord did next, oh man, he took a bad situation and made it a million times worse for himself. This is where we get to the fatal text, the one message that became the perfect piece of evidence.
You know what the landlord's single biggest mistake was? He put it in writing. He actually explained his crazy reasoning in a text message. And by doing that, he created a digital smoking gun, a permanent record of his bad faith that he could never, ever take back.
And what was that incredible reasoning? He told the new tenant they had to pay because, and I'm quoting here, nobody else wants to. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. He's literally admitting he's picking on the new person because everyone else already told him to get lost.
Okay, let's really break down why this text is the smoking gun. In one short sentence, he admits he's targeting one person. It proves he already knows the other tenants have refused. It shows his demand has nothing to do with a fair or legal method. And most importantly, it's undeniable proof that he is acting in bad faith. This isn't some simple misunderstanding. This is a landlord trying to pull a fast one.
But wait, there's more. The landlord didn't just stop at the ridiculous reasoning. He added a threat. And this threat takes it from a simple money dispute to something way more serious, a direct threat against the tenant's security deposit.
He literally wrote, "Either you pay or I'll take it out of your security deposit." Now, this isn't just a landlord being grumpy, it's an illegal threat. There are very, very strict rules for what a security deposit can be used for, and paying some other tenant's utility bill is definitely not on the list. So what happens when a landlord makes a threat like this in writing?
And that brings us to the final verdict. Because of that one text message, the landlord wasn't just risking losing his $600 claim. Oh no, he opened himself up to some shocking legal penalties that completely flipped the script.
You see, in Pennsylvania, and a lot of other states too, there are some really powerful laws that protect tenants from landlords who try to wrongfully keep a security deposit. The magic legal term here is bad faith. And that text message, it's basically Exhibit A for bad faith.
Because when a landlord is found to have kept a deposit in bad faith, they don't just have to give the money back. A court can actually force them to pay the tenant up to 3 times that amount.
This is the legal concept called treble damages.
It's a penalty designed specifically to punish and stop landlords from pulling these kinds of stunts. So all of a sudden, this isn't about the tenant trying to dodge a $600 bill. Now the tenant is in the driver's seat. They can potentially sue the landlord and win back 3 times their security deposit. The landlord's little power play completely backfired, giving all the leverage to the tenant.
So when you boil it all down, what's the lesson here? In a world where everything leaves a digital footprint, one impulsive, thoughtless text can destroy your entire argument. The landlord thought he was flexing his authority, but what he was really doing was writing his own confession. It really makes you think, right? What's the one text you should never ever send? Well, it's the one that proves you know you're in the wrong.